The drugs I saw in jail weren't what I expected at all. What the inmates used, what I found, threw me off. My name is Raj. I spent a year in jail in 2024, and I did a little bit of time during COVID. In this video, I'm going to be talking about drugs and medications in jail, how inmates got them, the environment, and how that led to abuse. All right, so real quick, this was during COVID. I spent a month at this facility. The first 2 weeks, they put you on quarantine, and then they move you to a small, tighter pod with higher security. So it was really hard to get any actual drugs in. The nurses were able to give you medication if you had proof that you actually had them. Your family would just have to bring the bottles of the prescription, and the jail, they wouldn't give you the pills or that actual bottle. The jail has their own pharmacy. So they'd give you their version of the same thing. The nurses would come around at certain times of the day to give you your medication. They would make you take your pills, your meds, and they would make sure you actually swallowed it. They would take a flashlight and shove it in your mouth just to make sure there's nothing there, make you lift up your tongue, all of that. So this was actually a security measure, because if they do this, then they know that the drugs can't be sold or handed off or taken at another time or whatever. There's no potential to do anything because it's being taken as needed. It was very difficult to get any over-the-counter medications. They only care if it's a heart-related issue. All right, so the 1-year bid I did in 2024 was totally different. This was a privately owned jail, and they just didn't give a fuck. People smuggled in actual drugs through body concealment because if they knew that they were going to jail or they had to do some time or they're going to get caught up, just stick it up your butt and you were good. I've seen people pay anywhere from $20 all the way up to $250 in Cash App just to get it. People are fiends, man. Remember how I said this other jail was more strict about the whole meds thing? Well, this facility, they didn't give a fuck. You could refuse your meds. You could just go get your meds in a cup and then just walk back to your cell and then flip it for some bread or do whatever you wanted with it, because they just didn't give a fuck. Because of that, selling became normal. People were just passing around prescription pills because why not? The jail doesn't give a fuck. The two most popular prescription drugs were actually Seroquel and Suboxone. Suboxone, I actually understand a lot of people take that on the street because it's a legal opiate, or they take it if they're coming off opiates. If you had it, you could sell it and make some serious bread because you could charge $10 for a little pinch. If you had a whole strip of Suboxone, you could make a couple $100s off it, which is wild. So the jail caught on to this. So eventually what they started doing was they started making everyone go to medical who was on Suboxone. And to get on Suboxone, you had to have a script and then also do a drug test and show up clean. So if you did that, you could be put on Suboxone. They made people go to medical to get it and put it in your mouth with the flashlight. That's the only time they ever did that at this facility, was with the Suboxone. Everything else was free game. I was still seeing people come back to the pod with their Suboxone and flip it. The Suboxone that was in their mouth, people would still buy it because fuck it, they're fiends. Okay, so this one threw me off the most. People were fiends for Seroquel in jail because it made them sleep. Motherfuckers just wanted to pop a pill and sleep for 16 hours because there's nothing else to do. A lot of people got Seroquel, and it was something that I kind of heard about, but I didn't really know what it was, and I never used it before jail, and I'm never going to use it after jail, especially after finding out what people use it for, because it's prescribed for schizophrenics and crazy people. I became very familiar with Seroquel because one of my cellies, which I had for 3 months, His name was Bobby. He had a Seroquel contract going with another dude on the opposite side of the pod. So what they would do is Bobby would give this guy $3 a day in exchange for the Seroquel. So they had this deal going for months and months on end. And I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? So I got to try it a few times. And the only time I ever really used it was before court, where I knew I wanted to sleep good because they wake you up at 4 a.m. to go to court. The sleep was pretty good compared to what I was getting. And then it started to make sense why people like this, because it's so fucking hard to sleep in jail. And what I mean by that is actually sleep for more than 2 hours at a time, uninterrupted. But with the Seroquel, that shit turned you into a fucking zombie. So many people would miss their fucking breakfast and lunch trays because they just couldn't get up. They were groggy. They'd rather go to sleep. Motherfuckers were fiends for that shit. I just remember, like, half the motherfuckers in the pod would be on Seroquel, just taking that shit to sleep and make the time go by a lot quicker. So the one guy, Bobby, was getting the Seroquel from, we found out that he was actually giving the Seroquel to like 2 other people. Bobby was getting cut. He was pissed about it. He didn't know how to like pull up on this dude to be like, hey, what's going on with this situation? He didn't really do anything about it. One guy would come and get his Seroquel and split it off to 3 different people and just be making the same amount of bread off each one. So if you had Seroquel, honestly, you didn't need any commissary because the pod got you. The pod wants your Seroquel. You could give them some, have enough for yourself, and just be good. Another popular one is alcohol, also known as Hooch. And you're probably wondering how inmates were able to get this. There's a simple fermentation process you can do with like older fruit and sugar that turns it into alcohol. So I actually had a system where I had a contract going with one of my dogs where I would sell him the fruit off my tray in exchange for some soups. I was just trying to live. I wasn't trying to burden my parents and ask for like hella bread on the commissary because they're already helping me with the legal fees and all that other stuff. So I was doing whatever I could do to get by. And that was one of my hustles, was selling the fruit off my tray. I would sell like jars of like pineapples, pears, like whatever I could get my hands on from my tray. And the person would take that and turn it into alcohol. And I actually got to try it a few times and it did come out pretty good. It can get you fucked up if the person knows what they're doing, but it is a fermentation process that you have to go through. It took like a week or 2 to actually prepare the hooch. The main way of making it was using iced tea powder bags from commissary and the fruit off the tray that the jail would give you. I also saw people with tobacco. It wasn't common, but people had it in there. And then there was also the K2 or the spice, which that's probably what most people think of when they hear of jail drugs. I haven't tried that myself, but from people told me that was like some real crazy shit. Like you'd smoke it and then you'd be glued to the wall. That shit would have motherfuckers tripping the fuck out. Occasionally, there would be raids by the guards where they would just go into your cell and just try to find whatever they could. Like they would just tear up motherfuckers' cells and just go through all their shit. And what the guards can do is they can actually shut the water off in all the cells. Because motherfuckers, if they know there's a raid, if they're going to try to flush all that shit down the toilet. But nah, the COs have a counter for that. Just shut the fucking water off in the cell and you can't get rid of it. And if they caught you, you get sent to solitary and possibly hit with a charge, which would make your stay even longer. Another crazy thing is that the jail refused to give me most of my medications. They were like, oh, nah, you can't have these because of potential abuse. The antidepressant I was taking, the motherfuckers in the jail would break that up and start snorting it. It was like their version of Coke, which is fucking wild. They just refused to give it to me because they said we're not going to give it to you because you can abuse it. But they're over here just letting motherfuckers walk off to their cell like with their fucking pills and flip it. But okay, make it make sense. But anyways, I was also using drugs when I got arrested. So I was going through some intense withdrawals, mostly off not having my fucking medications. But in the end, it worked out because after I came home, I stopped taking those medications completely. I stopped taking them in jail, so there was no reason for me to take them when I came home. And the only reason I was even put on those was because when I went into treatment, they thought that would be a good idea, which it wasn't. There was this one guy that came from another facility for court, and whatever drugs he had, he took them, and then he's like, yo, you're gonna have to get out of the cell, Mo. I need to go through my shit and get these drugs out. Because I guess he put the drugs in a bag and he swallowed the bag. So, yeah, people are fucking crazy. A lot of people in there were fiends for the Seroquel and the fucking Suboxone, and they'd be sending the Cash App, sending 20 on the Cash App, call their baby mama, hey, you fucking send that shit? I bet. Then the other dude calls their baby mama, hey, you received that 20? I bet. And then hand it off to him. That was my experience with drugs in jail. It's mostly the legal ones that you have to worry about. So honestly, jail doesn't fix addiction. It just reshapes it. Street drugs turn into prescription meds. This video was interesting. Like, drop a follow.